So I'll be banging straight on to the topic. Like, what are the basic rules and regulations for post-embryonic restorations? So this is how I teach in my even in my clinical sessions as well as in the Focus Academy. What I do is that we all follow a common pattern. We all take a small session of 10 minutes to 15 minutes, after which we give you 5 MCQ questions from that particular topic. So you will be able to relate with that. And after that particular session, you have an exam which is going to come from these particular topic. And that exam also will come from this particular session. And these sessions are known as micro sessions. So this is an example for a micro session. Post-embryonic restorations, how do we go about it? The most important questions which are asked in NEET exams are related to the basic concepts of post-embryonic restorations, that is the post and post. Like, when you plan for a post and post, what are the various rules you have to observe? Number one is a rule related to the length of your post and post. Whatever be your post and post, you have to make sure that 3 to 5 millimeter of root canal filling material should remain in as the apical zip. So what is this 3 to 5 millimeter of root canal material? It can be gataperca, your obturating material, or it can be even a root and filling material like MT. But the rule is you need to have at least 3 to 5 millimeter of root canal filling material. And why? Because that actually ensures your apical seal. That is rule number one. Rule number two is that, like, whenever you plan for a post and post, you have to think about at least taking 2/3 the length of your root canal for your post and post. So this is specially emphasized, especially if you are doing a cast post and post, because the retention is basically mechanical. So many times you need to go for 2/3 the length of your root canal, which is your rule number two. Rule number three is that whatever clinical crown you have, for example, you have to restore a particular length of clinical crown. It might be a long crown like your central incisor, or it might be a very small lateral incisor. Whatever be that, consider the length of the clinical crown. And your post should be more than that, either equal or more. Better to keep it more than the length of your clinical crown. So the depth of your post which goes into your canal, as you see in this particular picture, yes, it has to be more than the length of your clinical crown, like this. That is rule number three. Rule number four, at least half the bone supported length of the tooth. So what is bone supported length of the tooth? Every tooth won't be having proper bone support. Sometimes if your tooth is periodontally compromised, the bone support will be less. So whenever you have a post and core to be planned, make sure that your post is going to extend at least half the bone supported length of the tooth. And all these rules and regulations are the ideal ones. It is not always possible, but whenever somebody does a post and core, these 4 rules should be kept in their mind. And the last rule, that is rule number 5, is regarding the width of the post. The first 4 rules are regarding the length of the post. And regarding the width of the post, you have one single rule, that is not more than 1/3 the width of the root. And how do we know the width of the root? Width of the root, we have a preoperative assessment from a radiograph. And the best way is always from a CBCT. If the patient has a CBCT which is taken for some other reason, then definitely that CBCT can be used to see the width of the canal and the width of the root. Okay, and you can plan like this, not more than 1/3 the width of the root. If the root is 9 millimeter wide, your post should not be more than 3 millimeter. That is what it is meant by. So what happens if you have a wide post? When you have a wide post, and when there is every millimeter increase in width, the chances of fracture is 6 times more. So that means that giving a wide post is dangerous to your root. So we have different types of post. So the first thing what we have discussed in the first 5 minutes is nothing but the basic principles of post and core. 5 principles are there. Rule number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 rules regarding the length and 1 rule regarding the width. Now, the next 5 minutes, I am going to explain the different types of post. Number 1 is custom-made post. What is a custom-made post? Custom-made post means the post is made exactly to fit the canal. That means that there is something called as an impression which is involved. So the advantage of this custom-made post is that you have your canal anatomy which is preserved, and you need not remove too much of tooth material to fit in your post. So basically the advantage is that like it is custom made, as simple as that. Definitely custom made things, tailor made things are much more fitting than a ready made one. So that is the advantage of a custom made post. And one more advantage with custom made post is that many times these custom made posts are made out of metal which is cast. So these cast metal posts or the CAD/CAM ones, computer aided designing and milling ones, like zirconia posts which are custom made, they do not have an interface between the post and core. They are actually fabricated at one shot. So the advantage is there is no fracture which is involved between the post and the core. And the most important advantage of a custom made post is the adaptation, the close adaptation of the post to the root. If you see this particular picture, this particular radiograph is a cast post. And if you see that cast post, you can see how well that particular cast post is adapting to the anatomy of the root, which you don't get in a prefabricated post. But the only problem with custom-made post is that like a lab is involved. You need to take the help from a technician to do the casting or do the computer-aided milling. So that might end up in more appointments and more time for the patient. See, this is an example of an impression of a post space. And once that particular post space is impression is made, it is transferred to the lab, and the lab makes this cast post. And in this cast post, you don't have a junction between the post and the core. They are one unit. So there is no fracture at that particular interface. And once it is fixed, then it's very neat and it adapts well to the tooth. Now, what about the prefabricated post systems? The prefabricated post systems are very easy. It finishes just like that. It's all over within one step. The only problem is that the post space which is created, it is according to the cementation requirements of that particular post, that particular company. And every company, they have a particular prefabricated post system. So you might have to use the drills which are given from that company, or the most preferred drill to be used for a post space preparation is piezo reamer. Please remember piezo reamers. Piezo reamers are the most preferred drills which are used for post space preparation. So in a prefabricated post system, you have to create the post space according to the size of your post, not the other way around, how we saw in the custom made. And in prefabricated post, you have metallic post as well as non-metallic post. Even in custom made also, you have metallic ones and non-metallic. Ceramic ones are also popular nowadays. Now we have metallic post and non-metallic post in the prefabricated ones. So metallic post, the advantage is that you all know that metals are strong, they are cheaper, but the main problem is unaesthetic. And most importantly, they are very rigid, they are not resilient. So there are chances of fracture of the root in case of a severe force coming in. And they have only mechanical retention. And they can corrode anytime. That is another problem. Example is this. Your money company has EG post. And this EG post is an example for a metallic post. Whereas non-metallic posts, they have now captured the market. Mainly because they are all bondable nowadays by micromechanical retention. Means just like how you bond your composite, you can bond your post to the root dentin. The main advantage with this non-metallic post is that their modulus of elasticity are similar to the tooth. Exception is your ceramic post. And removal is much more easy. You can drill through many of them. They are much aesthetic. Why do you need aesthetics in post? I'll come to that. But the problem with non-metallic post is that they are expensive than metallic post, and strength is less, not as much as your post, your metal post. Example is the rebuilder post from Voco. There are a lot of companies giving you non-metallic fiber reinforced composite posts. Now, a prefabricated post can be either tapered or parallel. What is the advantage of having a tapered post system? We know that the roots are tapered for the tooth. So naturally, when you have a post, if the post is also tapered, it adapts to that natural tooth anatomy. So the advantage is that chances of perforation is much less. And you can go a little bit deep into the tooth because your post is also tapered. But the problem with taper is that you have more wedging effect, and it is not as retentive as a parallel post. Whereas parallel post, they give you good retention, and they do not require too much of deep post room. You don't actually have to prepare a lot of post space for this parallel post because they are highly retentive by the anatomy itself. But the negative point with parallel post is that because of their parallelism, if you go too deep, there are high chances that your roots can get perforated by your preparation. Plus, over a long period of time, there are high chances that a crack can develop in this particular area, which is not desirable. Now, this is a table from Schillingberg with the average sizes of post space which you need to prepare while you are doing a post and go. Okay, this is for the maxillary and this is for the mandibular. So you can use this as a guide when you do your post and go. When you come for the classes, we will be giving you the notes for all these values, because whenever you have a value, we need to make sure that you remember these values. So we will be giving all these values in the synopsis, what we are providing for you when you are doing the course of that NEET entrance examination batch. Now, special type of post which is we need to learn more MCQs can come for the national board as well as your NEET, is nothing but the light transmitting post or fiber reinforced composite post, which are also known as lucent anchors, mainly because they are bondable. So this bonding mechanism is important, in which you condition the root dentition, and always for a post and core you use a dual cure bonding system. So you need to use a dual cure bonding system because the light penetration is limited. Even though the light penetrates through these lucent anchors, still we use a dual cure bonding system. So this light transmitting post, the main advantage is that like you get a better bonding when the light gets transmitted through the post. And plus they are all resilient. The resiliency is similar to dentine. That is a main attraction of these lucent anchors over your metallic post. So these are all fiber reinforced composite posts in which fibers are arranged parallelly in a matrix, and the matrix has BIS-GMA, which makes it bondable to your bonding systems. And this is this is what I told you earlier. Like I told you, like why do we need aesthetic post? Because many times nowadays we do not use metal in our aesthetic dental practice. We use ceramics. We use ceramics like glass ceramics like Emax, lithium disilicate, and your zirconia, mainly in our day-to-day practice. And these materials do not look good if there is an opaque material inside or a dark material inside. Because whenever a patient smiles, they need to have that trans illumination effect for the prosthetic work. And the trans illumination effect for the prosthetic work comes from these lucent anchors. So when you think about aesthetic dentistry, the use of these posts is very important. Aesthetic post or your fiber reinforced composite post, which are white in color and which can transmit light. So basically bondable to the tooth structure, resiliency similar to dentine, and in one single step everything will be over, And this particular thing is called as monoblock concept. Means when you bond the tooth, when you bond the tooth with the post is bonded to the tooth using your resin cement, and only resin cements can be used. So your post is bonded to the root, the core is bonded to the post. So always when you use a fiber reinforced composite post, you use a composite core builder. You do not use other materials like glass ionomer or any other miracle mix, nothing. No, we directly use composites only. So the advantage is that, like, when you cure everything together, it becomes a monoblock, and this is called monoblock concept. It can come as an MCQ in your NEET preparations. And if you have multiple roots, what you will do? You prefer the larger roots and the roots with straight canals, because you shouldn't perforate when you are preparing the post base. And there is something called as ferrule effect. What do you mean by ferrule effect? Whatever system of post you use, at the end you need an encirclement, and more encirclement means that will be always better. What is encirclement? Like, you need to encircle the sound tooth structure as much as possible. For example, if you see this arrow, this particular arrow, the tooth material what is remaining here, that is approximately 2 millimeter, is what gives the ferrule effect. So when the crown goes over the tooth material, the entire system has reinforcement. So if you are left with a particular tooth like this, what you need to do is probably a crown lengthening procedure. Okay, crown lengthening procedure, or CLP, we call it as CLP, to achieve a ferrule like this. Okay, without violating the biological width. So that is something which we'll be discussing directly in our classes. It comes in the next micro session. So this is what is a micro session. So micro sessions are usually 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, in which we discuss theory like this, and after which we discuss 5 MCQs. Now you will be able to easily answer these MCQs. So see, this is a number based question. Definitely a number based. In today's session, I am giving you 5 different types of MCQs. So you can note what are the different types of MCQs, what comes for your competitive exam. Yes, very good. I am getting the answers in the chat box. Thank you all. Good. So the answer is 5 millimeter. It was asked in comment way back in 2014. These are all very old questions, but still relevant. They can come again and again. So these are certain easy questions, and these questions are the ones which you can easily answer, especially if you have gone through that in your MCQs. How Dr. Vipin explained today, like how you crack the MCQs. So that is when you crack the MCQs, when you read through the textbooks many times, you will be able to answer such questions. But that doesn't in fact determine your success. Your success comes when you know some theory along with that. That is the reason why we have these micro sessions followed by MCQs pattern in focus. Now, it's a direct question. See, the core material of choice while using a fiber reinforced composite post. It's a direct question, straightforward question. And what's the answer? We have already told that. Yes, very good. That is, you cannot use any other material other than a composite. Why? If you don't use that, you are not going to get a monoblock effect. So when we teach the concept first, and when we give you the MCQs after that, you will be able to crack more MCQs than just mugging up from your guides. So we need those guides also with us. We always ask our students to buy Dental Pulse as well as Neeraj Wagwan, and we also provide a lot of questions from the national boards, so that you can, if a twisted question comes also, you will be able to answer. So this is how it goes. So the answer is composite. Very good, very good. Now, see certain questions come like this, like on the properties of materials or effects. Yes. So basically it is a ferrule effect. And there are some other effects like basalt book effect, which comes in light, in colors. When it comes to colors, you have this basalt group effect, in which you have too much of bright light can confuse you in shade selection, which we'll deal in that micro session, don't worry. So this is the different type of questions what you have, the questions what are asked from these effects. Now, there are certain tricky questions which came in 2017 PGA December. All are true regarding post and core, except these are the ones usually everyone goes wrong. Why? Because you are in a hurry to write your exam. So in that hurry, what happens is that, like, you don't actually read that term called except or not. So what happens? You end up in the wrong answer. So be very patient. We will, like, as and when you approach the exams, we will be having a session by our faculty itself, how to time yourself during your NEET exam. So what I believe is that, like last NEET exam, many were not able to answer many questions because of lack of time management, which we'll be dealing. Don't worry about it. So the answer to this question number 4 is C, because we have already discussed that each millimeter in width, increase in width, causes 6-fold increase in root fracture, not 8-fold. Okay, and suppose if an average root size is 10 to 11 millimeter from the orifice, root canal orifice, if 3 to 5 millimeter remains, gutta percha remains at the apex, then B is correct. A is also correct. D is also correct. So this is how we go about. And more, once your exam started becoming online or directly through the laptop computer, then a lot of questions which are picture based or radiograph based questions started coming. This question was asked in May 2018 in the Ames paper. Yeah, seeing the radio opacity itself, you can come to know that it is a cast metal post and core. Okay, so you will be asked to identify materials. You will be asked to showing a material. You will be asked to ask something about their properties. You can have n number of permutations and combinations regarding the MCQs, which are picture based or radiograph based. So definitely life is challenging, and as I told you, as Dr. Lada told you, like it is a survival of the fittest and the survival of the adaptable. As Dr. Vibin Das told you, like time management is very important. You need to think many times. As Dr. Jerry told, like we have a team in focus which will help you grow. And tomorrow we have a free webinar